calling to order the regular council meeting for Wednesday, December 7th, 2022. Okay, adoption of agenda, recommendation that council adopts the agenda. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Johnston, all those in favor?
Discussion.
Oh, discussion?
Well, I have a question about number 0.3 for adoption of minutes. Where are the minutes for last council meeting?
So I will answer that. Some of our staff have been on vacation, and so the minutes have not been done. Minutes do not have to be completed for every agenda. Like, there's no expectation. The minutes, sometimes we'll have agendas without minutes. Sometimes we'll have 2 sets of minutes, but there's no rule that you can't have an agenda without minutes. So at this point in time, staff were on vacation. The minutes have not been done. They'll probably be done for the next council meeting. We'll probably have 2 sets of minutes for the next council meeting, most likely.
So the minutes of last council meeting should be presented by next council meeting?
Well, they can be presented by next council meeting, yeah. Am I correct, Ms. Stokes?
Present it when they're ready.
Yeah. Okay, any more questions?
Do we need that?
Well, I'm not there yet. Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous and passed, thank you. All right, adoption of minutes. As you mentioned, there are no minutes to be approved. Introduction of late items. We're going to be introducing late item 4.2. This will be added to our closed agenda as per section 91C, regards to labor relations or other employee relations. Are you guys seconder on that? Okay, Councillor Johnston, all those in favor?
Is it 14.2 or 4.2?
It's 4.2. All those in favor? Unanimous and passed. Perfect. Alrighty. Public hearings, none. Delegations, 6.1 recommendation.
The council heard the delegation from Paul Adams on BC Rural Health Network.
Can I get a seconder? Councillor Wall, moving into discussion.
Are they here?
They're on Zoom.
I've only been doing this for 20 years, and that's okay.
This is almost worse having you sitting there. I'm going to be on like, man, Mr. Bernier over there has got like a good decade and a half of experience on top of me for sure. So.
That's all your leader telling you.
Yeah, like
I'll tell you everything
exactly.
you're doing wrong here.
What do you mean? I just have a phenomenal nighttime routine. It's just,
And if he's not there, then we'll go to Mike.
lag on our thingy. Up, down, up, down. Sorry.
You do know this will be posted on.
It does.
Yeah, good thing I didn't stick my tongue out like I was originally planning.
We're all gonna think you're doing exercise.
Yeah.
Also, our pictures are going to be on the wall.
Yeah.
Fantastic photos.
I only can work out this one arm. Can't stop looking at it now. Marcel, do something funny.
I'm gonna have to do this again because
Not working now?
But now I didn't do it. I can't figure it out.
Well, even if we can just get him on the little.
He is not.
Are you logged into Zoom yet?
Yes, I am.
And he's not there yet?
He is. Yes.
Did I say 7 or 7:15?
Can't wait till match reality.
Maybe we're just too on the ball.
Yeah, so you guys can see him. But you can see what that.
Is he on there?
No, not yet.
Well, that's just technology. It makes it harder than it should be.
He's not there yet.
Okay,
I started the meeting.
so let's go on to the next one for now. We'll come back when he. So if you want to read this 6.2, we'll come back to Bill.
Okay, so we'll come back to item 6.1 where Mr. Paul Adams returns. So we're going to move to item 12.6.2 recommendation.
The council hears the delegation from MLA Mike Bernier.
I get a seconder? Councillor Ravel. Okay.
Opposed?
Hello, Mr.
Hello, where'd you
Bernier.
like me?
You
You want to wanna sit? Do you wanna stand? Do you wanna?
Yeah,
What would you like? What's your protocol out here?
well, we have a podium, we have all kinds of things.
No, Bruce is very laid back.
There you go.
Skylar will even give up her chair
No,
for you.
don't do that,
You
don't
can
do that.
sit right
You
here.
just have to make sure that you watch this, so you don't have all the time.
Yes. Why, I know he's like gonna think we're all in the middle of speaking to him and he's like, oh, he's gonna start panicking.
We can put him on hold.
Anyway, appreciate being out here, I'll answer questions and stuff too, but just, first of all, a couple of new things, anyway, and different goals, congratulations to all of you. You know, it's been, Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably been about 2 years since I've been here, so it's good to be out here, because I'm trying to now come home, through this new session, with all the mayors and councilors in the region, because it's really important that we have a good solid relationship, because there's so many things. First of all, remember, we represent the same people in different roles, but representing the same people in different ways. And there's a lot of things that will happen in the village that are provincial in nature, jurisdiction, that you're going to need my assistance with, or at least communication. And that's really important. We have that going forward, because we have different municipalities in the southeast here. So I travel around, and interestingly, they're very unique. I always talk about that with my colleagues down south. They represent one city. Granted, it's a massive city, but they might have 9 MLAs, let's say, representing Surrey, one city. Whereas here you have 1 MLA representing 4 different municipalities that have different distinct issues and needs, which makes it exciting for me. But with that as well, I think it's really important that we have a strong relationship. Whenever you think you need my assistance, or even if you just have questions. As you kind of alluded to, I've been doing this for a little while now, and my wife reminded me I'm getting close to 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Being an elected official, so I have a little bit of experience, but every day I learn something I didn't know too. Never stop learning in this role. But I just finished session. Just so you know from my end, so I'll be home now. By home, I mean obviously in the region, for the next 6 weeks. And then we're back into Parliament starting February, beginning of February. So then we're in Parliament basically from beginning of February until June. So so we just finished the fall session, which was from latter part of September until to December 1st. So we just finished that. It was a very weird session. I won't get into all the details of it. Weird being, though, I will highlight, obviously, with Premier Horgan leaving and then a new Premier being sworn in. New cabinet was sworn in today in Victoria. So they shuffled the deck chairs on the Titanic. And I only say that because I will, I really think. But I think it's also important because I think from our end, we'll probably see some critic shuffles too, because that typically happens. So today I'm a critic of housing. Tomorrow I probably won't be, just because that's typically what happens. They try to match people up with different issues. Depending on who they feel as a minister, they compliment or make sure we have the right person as a critic. But up here, maybe I'll just quickly highlight them, maybe just open it up for questions too. Ask me anything. But the biggest issue that I'm hearing right now in my office haven't really changed over the last few years. Healthcare is lack of healthcare professionals. We need to collectively work on that. I've talked with the other municipalities on this as well. And I do recognize that Bruce is smaller, but I think you still have a role to play in this. Because when you look at the Dawson Creek Hospital alone, there's 29 vacancies just like nurses, just in the hospital, not counting other facilities, care aides, etc. So I went and checked on the hospital recently, and there was only one full-time nurse running emergency. And so we need to remember that, I get a lot of complaints from constituents coming in, and I always try to highlight, please don't complain about the staff. Because we're lucky to have who we have, we just need to do a better job of recruits, and which also part of that means retain the ones we have. So anyway, that's throughout all of British Columbia right now, but of course my main focus is here. When we have Chetwynd and Tumbler Ridge, whose hospitals shut down on a regular basis, go on diversion, that just adds more stress to us here in Dawson Creek when they shut down and all of a sudden ambulances are having to drive people all the way in. You have to hope it's not a serious issue because you're driving an hour to get to Dawson Creek or Fort St. John, depending on where you're going. So we need to keep working on that one. The only other thing I'll say on that is I am excited that basically finally, it took quite a few years of pushing, but we have through Northern Lights College a nursing program now. We have a small one in Dawson Creek, but we actually have a full LPN, PRN, I have to double check on that, in Fort St. John in collaboration with UNBC, which is great because as we know with a lot of things, if we can train people, locals here, we're already here, so we have to stay here. Because to convince somebody out of school in SFU to choose Dawson Creek Hospital over Kelowna, it's sometimes a challenge for obvious reasons. The other issues that are really affecting the region right now is just land use management. And by that I mean there's a lot of confusion out there right now around the role of our local First Nations working with governments and how that relationship is going to work for permitting. Right now we have oil and gas companies who are not doing a lot because they can't get permits or they're afraid to invest. Forestry companies that are on diversion because they can't get access to timber supply. We've got mines that want to expand but can't get permission to expand. And right now everybody's doing this while people are losing jobs and businesses are doing. So I don't have the answer because this is a difficult, sensitive one because after the court decision with Blueberry, what it's done is it's put everybody on at a situation that nobody knows now. And the senior bureaucrats for permitting offices right now, in all fairness, I think are afraid of their own shadow because they don't know what they're allowed to do. And by that, they have to be given clear direction on whether they can approve permits or not, because they've been told everything has to be discussed with local First Nations. Well, that's not happening in a timely manner because, in all fairness, they don't have the capacity either. This is so new. And in the short term, it's a real problem. The amount of people that are coming into my office, small businesses that are having a hard time keeping staff. I can tell you that I know just for the 2023 year, total already of $2.5 billion of investment in the oil and gas sector for pipelines and drillings that has been canceled. And we're bothered because there was uncertainty on they didn't want to, for obvious reasons, say, yes, we're going to go into BC, start applying for permits, not get the permits, and then they hold up the capital for a year. And because nobody could give them a straight answer, they just said, we're just going out for a year. Luckily, we have a little bit going on, but not what we should have with the price of gas being global record highs. We should be absolutely booming right now, and we're not. So that's unfortunate. So that's another thing that's really coming into my office. Other than that, this time of year is a little slower, obviously. We're rightfully so focusing on family and friends. But we're still on a daily basis. Yesterday I had about 100 emails from the office.
You are a man with a very full plate, I can imagine.
Yeah, so lots going on. But maybe, again, just want to congratulate you. Came in to say hi, more than anything, just to touch base, talk about the door always being open. And anyone counts through yourself. Reach out at any time. Any questions along here?
Yes. Does anybody happen to have any questions? Councillor Wong?
During the election, I heard talked to a lot of people.
Good.
One of the concerns was having an ambulance bay here in Scoopy. Would that be our jurisdiction or yours?
Well, that is provincial, and that's determined through a whole bunch of different factors, through Ministry of Health in conjunction with the Paramedics Union Association, but it depends on funding and cars and people. Right now, it's another part of the healthcare system that's really struggling. We're lucky where they've changed it, and I don't have numbers because I can't remember them all. But I do know that at least they were taking some of the people in the region, based in the Dawson Creek cars, and moving them from an on-call basis to, I think they called it permanent part-time, but at least they're not getting a $2 an hour on call. They're actually getting paid now to be in the car. I think right now, to be blunt, the odds of actually having a car stationed out here in the short term is probably not in the cards, because we're having a hard time. We can't even get one in Tumbleweed or Chetwynd right now. They're sharing one.
Tumblr and Chetwynd.
Yes, so there's lots of times right now in Tumbleweed Ridge, if you call an ambulance, they're sending one from Dawson Creek or Chetwynd, or vice versa. So they look at it, it's kind of the WestJet approach. They put a dot down, draw a radius, and say anybody in this radius is fine. So right now, I do know that they say that Moose Koobi falls within the 10-minute response time from Dawson Creek, so they don't classify it as a high need compared to others. Now, when I say 10-minute response time, that's driving. That's if they've got somebody, if the car is available, if it's on the road. It can still
If they're ready to go.
It can still be a half hour, 45 minutes. I hear all the stories still. That happens, unfortunately.
I know one of the things that I was sort of been watching a little bit closely that I'm quite concerned of for this area as well is I know that they've just announced that there was like over $4.6 billion in COVID payments that are going to have to be realized. And I know, as you were saying, there's a lot of people that, especially in that oil and gas sector, that are just not getting the work that they could potentially be getting. And I think I'm more concerned about when the government does start pulling in that money for, people who may receive this and I shouldn't have. I'm thinking about that safety net that Dawson already sort of struggles having. And, Moose Koobi is, 10 kilometers down the roadway, and we also don't really have much of a safety net.
You can be optimistic off the roadway.
Yes, right. True. And so, I know that is something that I was sort of watching that this week, thinking, wow.
Yeah, so there's a couple different components to that. The funding that they're talking about on the $4.5 billion of overpayments is federal COVID funding, not provincial. Provincially, that stuff they say is all been, the audit provincially was done. They said it looked like it was pretty good. There wasn't a lot of issues. Provincially, there was only $800 million. Most of that was you had to apply for it. There was a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit better than the federal, because the federal, my opinion, was very willy-nilly.
Yes.
And of course, originally a lot of the COVID funding was based on the previous year's T4s. So you could have made $75,000 last year, got laid off in January because of COVID, and now you didn't apply for COVID funding because you didn't qualify, because it was based on your previous year's T4, and they said, no, you made $75,000. I'm unemployed right now. There was a lot of weird loopholes on how that worked. But then there were, because of the way they had the application process open, the way I understand it, a lot of people applied that actually didn't qualify, and they got the checks. And now that they're doing the auditing, in the next taxation season, you're going to start seeing a lot of people all of a sudden getting dinged.
Yes.
$1,200, guess what, you have to pay it back.
Well, and a lot of those people who applied and didn't meet, shouldn't have technically gotten it, that did get, a lot of those people that were already people that were struggling.
Yes.
And really sort of saw this as like, wait, I'm currently struggling, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, or they're living on that child tax. And now that could potentially be stripped back due to, and so that's where I am, I was just thinking, oh man, what a mess.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those, there's people on both sides of this, right? Yes. If people applied and they didn't qualify, they shouldn't have applied.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to pay it back. And then there's people who truly need it, who maybe should have gotten more. So it's one of those challenging situations I think the government was put in. In all fairness to provincial and federal governments, they're put in a horrible situation with the global pandemic, just trying to figure out how to help people. And they were in such a hurry to just get dollars at the door that I don't think there was a lot of due diligence done in how they were doing it. And now, unfortunately, it's a lot of it is starting to become apparent.
Councilor Wall?
Well, it's about money too, but it's also, there's a lot of rumblings I've been hearing around here about concerns regarding the caribou draw and moose. Yeah. Who do you recommend because I've been approached multiple times about this, and I'm not a big fan of what they're doing either, but who do you recommend I suggest these people contact? You.
Yeah, that is obviously, I'm in opposition, so I'll say this first of all on your point, not to get away from the point. But we always joke that the absolute worst day in government, is still way better than being in opposition. Because my job in opposition is basically to critique. I have no access to anything, and I have no decision-making powers. My job is to be an advocate, basically, when you're in opposition. So it has been a bit of a learning curve for me on that, because up until 4 years ago, opposition, I was actually either mayor, councillor, or decision maker. Now, on your point, if you talk to people, they can definitely contact me, and I want to know their concerns, but then I can forward on those issues, obviously, to the Minister of Forest Lands as well. I will
Also
say
with the cost of living increasing so high and the cost of groceries, and then to peel back what people can hunt. Meanwhile, is a recipe for disaster for some families.
Well, absolutely, because what's happened now is, I'm hearing stories and factual stories where people are saying, I'm third generation hunting moose in this region, and I look forward to every fall in October with my dad or my grandson or my kid hunting for moose, and now I'm told I can't. And the draw numbers are so limited, and those draws, we have to remember, are provincial. So people in Vancouver Island are now applying to get the draws to come here to shoot the moose, where local people aren't getting. So
there's the problem right there.
It is a huge issue. But again, I'll sensitively say, it's because government made this decision wanting to work with local First Nations, because that's a great decision. Again, they were concerned about backcountry usage and wanted to put a pause on hunting. Now, depending on who you talk to, when I've reached out to the First Nations locally, they say, no, it wasn't us. When I talk to the government, they say it wasn't us. So it's back to that, we got to get everybody to the table and try to fix this. I did talk to the biologists. They won't publicly say this on the record because they'll lose their job. All politics. There is no science backing up any of the decisions that they're making right now. There's a herd of elk just on the other side of their mountain right now that they estimate it's over 200. Yet you can't go.
Well, that's a great herd.
Well, yeah, and they're destroying hay bales and farms and private land. You can't go out and shoot for sustenance. Moose, so anyway, your point is taken.
I'll
talk to people.
I'll direct them to you.
Have them come talk to me because I'd love to hear their concerns, first of all, because I need to get those numbers up to have a better story to tell.
Thank you.
Councilor Rebel?
So my question would be, what does the ideal municipal-provincial relationship look like to you?
That's a good question. There's jurisdictional differences between local governments, municipality, and provincial. But there's so many issues that you will face again when you have a highway driving going right through the middle of your community. You've got schools, you've got healthcare issues, you've got what you brought up, Councilor. You'll hear from constituents. What's really important is that close relationship. I'm very fortunate. I want to make sure we have that. The other municipalities have a great relationship. Councillors and mayors on a weekly basis, Facebook messaging or call my cell number and ask me a question at a time on an issue. I think that's really important. And every municipality finds their own way through this. I'll just put it this way, again, my door is open, so if you have a question, things relating to the provincial government, I'll do my best to answer for you. Other things that I think are really important, and I'm not trying to sway you because getting out is very important. By that I mean resource, UPCN, NCLGA, however you guys determine your budgets. That stuff's really important because that's how you network with municipalities and other other MLAs and cabinet. It's all part of the networking. Big part of it. Give you an example quickly. When I was mayor, and I was having an issue in my community, I just phoned up the minister, or went through Blair Lexstrom, the MLA, gave it a number, and I got hold of the minister in Victoria. I went down, did a round of golf with him. And 4 hours sitting with the minister doing a round of golf solved my problem. Whereas sending emails doesn't always do it. 4 months later, you get a response. And it's really close. You'll find your way. But the relationship is.
Thank you.
Well, I
Is
see
he on there?
that he is, so we'll take one more question from
It's okay,
Councilor Willow.
I'll shoot Mike a message later.
You're gonna shoot Mike a message later, okay, perfect.
You know
Well,
where to find me.
yeah, well, thank you so much
Yeah, my pleasure.
for coming out
Thanks for having
and seeing us. Hopefully, we will see more of you. Feel free to stop by anytime, and, hopefully you'll definitely be hearing from us as well.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Thanks to all of you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you can stick around
I
if you
will
want,
for
or
a few
you can
minutes,
sneak
and then I'll
out.
sneak it.
Yeah.
I got my grandson.
Yeah, there, well, exactly. Don't blame you for sneaking out. Poor dude has just been staring at us like, what in the world?
Hi, Paul. Can you hear me?
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, Sandy.
There,
I hear.
see, I'm trying to figure out how to make you a presenter.
I think if you right click on me,
Yeah.
you might be able to just put me into presenter mode.
This is the southeast of one formal. Here might be formal. Outside of here, call me Mike.
Yeah.
I'll call you Jordan.
Yeah.
That's a good name.
Well, there's 3 little dots, Sandy, up next to the mute button. If you click on that, you can probably put me on presenter.
Like attendees.
Make host? I got make host.
Yeah, if you make me the host, that will work. Okay, great.
All right, let's see if it works.
So good evening, Puskupi, and pleasure to present to you this evening. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining us. We really, really appreciate it.
We caught a little bit of the, I assume that's your MLA that was presenting before us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we heard a little bit about your troubles there with the hospitals and ambulances, and perhaps we can answer or at least provide a little insight into some of those things after the presentation here. But I'm going to share my screen, and if it works, you should see a picture of my granddaughter.
Well, it's working
Never mind.
on the laptop. Guy, is there a way to get it up there on the TV or no?
If I get my head in there, yep.
You see Rural Health Network.
Okay, all right, well, I definitely see her. She looks adorable. She's got 2 purses, I relate.
She's very tough. She carries her sister's bag too.
My voice is in your
Well,
package.
Perfect.
I just have to, I have to stop share, do that again here. Sorry.
No worries.
And it should start in just a moment. Thank you, Your Worship, and
There we
honorable
go.
members of council for the opportunity to meet with you today. I am presenting today from the Upper Similkameen and the traditional territory of the Silks First Nation, home to the Upper Similkameen Indian Band, and just outside the community of Princeton, BC. We have come today to request your membership in our network to help increase the voice of rural residents on their health and well-being.
Paul, can you
We're in a
speak up?
healthcare crisis, and increasing our voice is critical to ensure rural health equity is realized. Sorry
there, Paul, we're just having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. Could you use your projector's voice?
So, this is a pre-recorded. I think the volume problem is probably on your settings on your end. If you can turn the volume up on your system, because it's quite, yeah. Just let me know when you're ready and I'll start it again.
Guy's currently trying to troubleshoot the joys of technology.
It's fun at every meeting. We have different challenges every single time, so.
Yes, exactly. How many remotes did TD take, huh?
No batteries.
Oh, no.
Better wait till the 2023 budget comes.
Who's new?
Grocery store today, $90 for a 9 kilogram floating chicken. Oh, stretch it out, say, wow.
Holy shit.
We're gonna have chicken.
Rita was shocked to see this.
Somebody sent me.
All right, okay, let's see, hopefully it's fixed, we're gonna cross all of our fingers, we will find out.
Is it coming up on the big screen now?
Well, you're louder.
Yes, so you're definitely louder, yeah.
Okay, let's try again. And stabilized throughout our province. The impacts of not addressing rural healthcare affects everyone. It is time to address the unique nature of rural challenges which require rural-specific solutions. We are a collective of individuals, rural health advocacy groups, rural volunteers, rural healthcare providers, rural research groups, and nonprofits who provide rural programming and support. The group originally formed as a collective of local advocacy groups who championed rural health during the centralization of services. We have grown, and we are growing rapidly. Our purpose is to share successful strategies in an effort to address rural healthcare concerns. We advocate for policy changes that provide all rural residents with attachment to a healthcare practitioner. We identify areas of research aimed at improving access to healthcare in rural communities and provide fertile ground for research to take place. We inform the Ministry of Health in regards to rural healthcare concerns and recommend solutions to the improvement of services to rural BC residents. We work in partnership with other provincial organizations to influence policy change that improve access to healthcare services. We recognize the healthcare concerns of Indigenous communities and include their issues and concerns as part of our work. And we improve access to mental health services and addiction support services. We promote patient-centered community-based primary healthcare reform. We are a conduit of communication. We listen to our membership and the general public and hear about community-level challenges. We transfer knowledge to our membership and the general public from trusted sources. We also transfer knowledge from the membership and the general public to governments. And we provide local and regional solutions to authorities through high-level interaction with policymakers. We inform the grassroots of our communities, our volunteers, our hospice workers, our community services, and generally work to improve the recognition of rural healthcare providers. Community volunteers are the backbone of the BC Rural Health Network. We advocate for equity in health outcomes for all British Columbians, for the ability to live in place in rural BC, for a robust public healthcare system, for science-based management and solutions, and for community-centric care and community-based health management teams. We are apolitical, we are solutions-based, and we are a registered charity. We are here today to ask for you to join us. Your community voice is needed and wanted by our network. As the saying goes, once you've visited one rural community in BC, you have visited one rural community in BC. Each community in rural BC is unique and has its own unique problems and solutions. We cannot champion each individual problem faced, but we can find common areas that will improve health and wellness for many rural communities. Rural residents are resourceful and resilient, and we have solutions to offer. With a louder voice, we will ensure we are not just listened to, but heard. So with that, I would like to thank you all for your time, and if you have any questions, we are happy to answer them.
Awesome, wonderful, thank you so much. So I'm gonna move to questions, and what I'll do is I will announce the name of the counselor once they've raised their hand, and then they can direct their question to you. Or through me.
Great.
To you. Okay, anybody have any questions for Paul Adams and the BC Rural Health Network? Okay, Councillor Wall?
How is the structure set up between your organization and Northern Health? Is there like a jurisdictional boundary there, or?
No, so we're a charity and a nonprofit group, and we work with all health authorities, the ministry and ministries throughout the provincial government. We also work on both sides of the political aisle, so we're working with not just the current government, but the BC Liberals and the BC Greens. In regards to our contact with health authorities, we seek to engage at the highest levels and to have engagement with a solutions-based approach. So we're not just we're not a protest group at all, or just bringing problems forward. We're a solutions-based organization, and we create solutions around common rural issues that we identify impacting all rural British Columbians. So in hearing some of your comments and questions from the MLA in regards to the ambulance situation and the hospitals and transport, these are all very familiar problems to us, and they're certainly reflected in many small regional communities. One of those is joining us on the call today. So Colin Moss is a councillor with the village of New Denver, and also faces a lot of those same transportation issues and challenges. So again, our purpose is to provide not just a information to residents but also to government, and bringing community-based solutions back to the ministry and the people making policy decisions.
Thank you. That was a very, very good answer.
Okay, Councillor Rebel?
Where does your organization draw the line between urban and rural? And I guess for advocacy for rural, you're talking about communities. For example, there's rural areas around Pouce Coupe, but our core is rather urban and rather close. Where do you draw the line? Is it population-based, density-based? How does that work for your organization?
For my perspective, we've given up trying to define rural from, putting people in a box. That, everybody has a different position on what's rural. If you look at, from an MSP standpoint, everybody in northern BC is a rural community, including Prince George. If you, look at the southern interior, there's many communities that are isolated by ferry service in a similar way to Vancouver Island or coastal communities, and they may or may not be viewed as a rural community due to their, as the bird flies, proximity to a larger center. So we feel if you identify as being a rural community or have rural residents, then we're welcoming to include you in our organization and under the umbrella of our advocacy.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Whittle?
Yeah, whereabouts do you guys get your funding for your advocacy work?
So we're in early development. We just got our charitable status in June of this year. We've been an organization for 5 years, but we've really been focused on growing the membership base and growing our resources over the past 12 months. So we're seeking core funding through provincial government, and we're meeting with a lot of ministries. And obviously at this stage in the game, from a political standpoint, we just had another cabinet shuffle today, and so that's changing a number of the faces that we've been dealing with. But we have been dealing with Minister Cullen and Municipal Affairs, and that portfolio changed today, so we're going to be reaching out to make new relations there. But Minister Dix obviously is remaining in place, and we have Minister Conroy, who is previously Minister of Forest, but now has become Minister of Finance, and she has been a champion of ours, actually. She actually is the MLA for Collins region. and she had the rural portfolio under the Ministry of Forests. So we're reaching out in that regard. The only funding that we receive right now is through membership, and from actually through the Michael Smith Foundation, but it comes to us through the RCC BC, which is the Rural Coordination Centre of British Columbia, which is led by Rural Physicians of BC, and we get a very small grant, $24,000 a year, which goes to pay for my work in administration, but is the only stable funding that we have at this point in the game. But we intend to, we've made a variety of grant applications, and now with our charitable status, we will be reaching out for corporate donations and other donations for tax receipts. So we're growing, and we're growing rapidly. And I don't know if you saw the list on the screen, because it might be small if it was just on your laptop, but we now have 20 municipalities. We've got a series of more presentations moving forward into 2023, and we're going to be, we have over 80 members. The members are primarily groups, organizations, grassroots community groups, hospice workers. We have medical practitioners. We have all kinds of a variety of players who have joined and are continuing to join. So the answer is we are underfunded, but we're seeking funding rather assertively or aggressively.
Okay, and I guess my question to you would, and you'll have to forgive me, I've been traveling for the past week, but what is it that you're seeking from Pouce Coupe? Just sort of show support or?
So we're looking for you to join us in membership. The request is very small financial commitment of $50 a year. And what that does is it just brings your voice into ours, so we can say that we represent the residents of Pouce Coupe and your catchment area, which again just adds and amplifies the voice as we present to governments and to policymakers. It just we want to have, again, if you look at our website at some point at bcruralhealth.org. You'll see the map and the membership map of the province, and really we are just about everywhere in BC from a membership perspective, and growing continually. So we'll be presenting to Fort Nelson shortly. Dawson Creek has joined, so we're getting quite a bit in the northeast. And we're on the island, we're in the interior, we're throughout the northwest as well, and our voice is having an impact. So we found for a long time that research in rural development and rural health was there, and there's been a lot of money put into rural research, but the research never translates into policy and practice. So we formed an implementation committee. Dr. Jude Cornelson is chair of that committee. She is the lead researcher at the Rural Centre at UBC. And we have a wide variety of members to that committee who are providing solutions-based input so that we can bring that forward to government, and that is being well received.
And so you sound like a group that are representing quite a mass of rural communities. How are you able to sort of hyper-focus that down? So, as you had stated, every rural community is really its own set community. How are you focusing that down to the most important needs of each community without overwhelming your constituents?
So we're looking at it from the standpoint of finding those common, high-level issues which are impacting pretty much every rural resident. So, the first position paper that we produced out of our implementation committee has been on community engagement and re-engagement to make sure that community voices are put back into policy making and decision making. Our next position, which is in draft but is moving along rapidly, this group is meeting a couple of times a month at this point. And the next piece is out-of-pocket expenses for transportation for rural residents to reach larger centres, and the impact that has on the most vulnerable members of your community and all communities from the standpoint of reaching a specialist at distance, or going for an appointment which where services are no longer in play. We're also looking at, again, the BC ambulance service for the solutions which are coming out of communities, and we have Leanne Happel, who is the Chief Ambulance Officer for the province, is now presenting to our board on a quarterly basis and opening for questions and answers. So we get to provide that input directly to the Chief Ambulance Officer of the province. We do the same with ministerial meetings. We do the same with just like-minded organizations, and getting buy-in from other players on the health scene. So we don't overwhelm the membership. We as a board and as a volunteer base get a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of work that we have to conduct, and we'll be pleased when we're into a little better situation from a funding perspective and able to put more staff on the ground.
Wonderful. Anybody have any more questions? Mrs. Stokes has a question.
Paul, you said the membership is $50 per year. Is that $50 per community, or is it $50 per member?
No, per community. It's $50. That's all I'm asking. $50. Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Alrighty, well, we will.
I have a tiny question.
Oh, hang on, Councillor Rattle.
Okay, so it sounds like you're a rural advocacy group. I'm just wondering what missing piece you represent beyond our standard channels of communication. If we're to speak for MLA, if we're to speak to a health authority, I'm just wondering what your group represents as that missing piece, that extra something special beyond our existing channels of communication.
Well, it is that voice, right? So it is the 1.5 million rural residents that we aim to represent on their healthcare. And on their healthcare needs. And again, we don't represent individuals, and we don't represent individual organizations or communities. We're representing the entire rural population, and that creates access. So what the difference being is that you as a community certainly need to continue advocating for your own individual circumstances. But by combining the voice, by uniting the voice across the province, we're able to present and get solutions to government and have those implemented, or at least the goal is to have those solutions implemented as we move forward, that are going to see a broad impact across all regions of British Columbia. And it's going to be because we have that strong voice. And, Colin can perhaps speak to some of this from a UBCM perspective, and how that opened doors and opportunities at Whistler this year, from getting in additional engagements on top of the typical engagements, and being able to get impacts and access at that level.
Okay.
Sure, I'll just say a little bit here. My name is Colin Moss. I'm the Vice President of the BC Rural Health Network. I'm a second-time councillor for the Village of New Denver. I just completed my term as a director on our regional district board, plus our regional hospital district board. And our mayor is also on the board of the BC Rural Health Network. He's a longtime fire chief. And we found it's very advantageous to be a political or a elected representative when it comes to things like UBCM. We were able to meet with all the political parties, or the party caucuses, healthcare critics, and put forth the UBCM or BC Rural Health Network perspective. So what we found in New Denver is, rather than just have just our village voice trying to fight for local health care, to have a united voice BC-wide gives us so much more access to the higher levels of government and health authorities. And it's our hope that we can get as many municipalities and regional districts joining us throughout BC to give us that voice. And the more municipal members we have and local health groups that we have, the better chance we have of coming up with real workable solutions. Because I know we here in New Denver, we found solutions that applied BC wide, but we just weren't being listened to as one village, where the BC Health Network is growing to the point where we're now being listened to. So if you have a particular healthcare problem and have come up with a viable solution, then we're the ones to get it to the highest levels of government. And I think that's where we play a key part in rural BC.
All right, well, perfect. Well, thank you so much. We're actually all out of delegation time, so I'm going to have to cut you off, but we will definitely be putting this to a vote. I thank you guys so much for your time and for zooming in, and you will be hearing from our CAO, Miss Sandy Stokes, shortly.
We appreciate your time, Your Worship, and honourable members of council, and we look forward to you joining us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
Yes. Same. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Alrighty, so Miss Stokes.
So there's already a motion to join their network. That was done by the previous council. I don't know if you guys want to redo your vote, but
What was
yeah.
their decision?
To join the,
Oh.
yeah. But they wanted to hear the delegation first, but we couldn't do it before the election.
Do we need a seconder?
It's already been voted on. There's
Yeah.
already a motion.
Oh,
It's
done.
all done.
I'll
But
second the
unless
motion.
you disagree, if you
I'll
don't
second
want
the
to,
motion,
then you
yeah.
need a motion to.
Happy to join.
Are there any legal or liability implications? No, it's just general advocacy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
We can move on.
So
We
it's
can.
done.
Alrighty. So number 7, unfinished business and business arising from the minutes. New business, 8.1 recommendation.
Recommend that council direct staff to amend policy 6.3 community center rental.
Okay, I have a seconder. Councillor Rabble, he beat you to it. Alrighty, and discussion? Yes, Councillor Rabble.
Okay,
I'm
it
gonna
seems,
ask you to hold 1 second,
Oh.
please, because our expert on community center
Yes.
is right there.
She's right there, and
She's the one that's gonna answer your questions.
She's currently signed.
Yes, she's our IT tech right now.
I've already read this, I'll read it again.
I guess you can.
for the policy amendment, I'm seeing that there's village-funded organizations, there's long-term rentals, recovering costs. So I see that there's kind of different user groups, but then I'm also seeing that we're talking different fees. Obviously, there are, because of our user agreement between the school district and the library and the village, there's a cleaning cost that is borne by the users. That is part of our agreement, right? That's not negotiable, it's already existing, right? So there's that cleaning cost, but then there's also, it seems that there's some additional costs that may arise. So I'm curious about the user groups, and then I want a clear definition on that, and then I also am wanting a clear definition on the cost. I see cleaning cost, but then what are these additional costs? That's kind of what I'm wondering about.
I have a few, sort of paying to your broad question. I have some really focused questions. Maybe can we focus it down a little bit more, and then I think that Sky's nodding that was a very broad question. So
Let's start with
User
one
groups.
question at a time.
I'd say user groups. What are our user groups? There seem to be village-funded organizations, there are public organizations, and then people of the public realm that might want to have a wedding in there or something, right?
so you're wanting to find out.
How do we delineate these user groups?
We don't.
No?
No, anybody can rent the
Yeah.
community center.
course,
So
yeah.
we have, and I'm gonna let Skylar answer. Sorry, Ms. Green.
So the
So when we rent out the facility, so if someone wanted to come in for a wedding, yes, we would charge them the rental fee. But the user groups that are currently not being charged a rental fee is such as the museum, the library, and the fire hall. That's what I classify as village funded organizations. So when they rent the facility, when janitors come in, they're scheduled already throughout the week, so there's no additional cleaning cost because they are there. However, if the gym is rented on a weekend, they have to call in their staff, and we are charged a fee for them to come in.
So the cleaner is the school district employee. Is that a union employee? Okay, and how much is our rental fee?
So for the weekend, so it's from Friday PM, so that would be 3 o'clock until Sunday AM to about 12 PM. And it is $900, and that includes the GST. There is also a damage deposit, but if the facility is clean and no damages, then they can get it.
So the weekend fee is $900 for the weekend. Does that include the cleaning fee?
That does include the cleaning fee.
Okay, and then what's the weekday fee?
The weekday, so for a facility weeknight, this is not with the kitchen, it's $140, but if you include the kitchen, it would be $200, so additional $60 for the kitchen.
Okay, and I know with our current user agreement with the school, that building and all that's within it belongs to the school district between the hours of 8 AM to 2:30 PM. So they could only rent from 2:30 PM.
It's actually, so for weeknight rentals, it's actually 3:30 PM to 8 PM only, and that is our agreement with the school.
Okay, all right, and that weekday of the $140 or the $200, including the kitchen, does that include the cleaning fee?
That would, so the cleaners are already there,
They're
so
already there.
They're already
they're
there.
already
Yeah, just
scheduled to,
weekends.
yeah, so the main concern is the weekends.
Okay.
They're getting called in for overtime.
Counselor Wall?
So let's say a few people want to play basketball cold winter night with their kids in the gym. It's going to cost them $140 to rent the gym. That's
Unless
quite
it's a
expensive.
long-term rental. So if it's a user group using it over consecutive
Say
amount of time.
weekly or something.
Yeah, so it's Monday, they wanna use it Tuesday, Thursdays throughout the winter months, then that would be a long-term rental agreement with the village.
So we could do like,
And
let's say every second Tuesday for 3 months or something.
so that is, there is a $1,500 annual fee for groups, for a long-term user.
That's quite
And
expensive.
the damage deposit is waived.
$50 or saving money. We can use the space at the college for.
College has no money.
My next question is, so with the nonprofit groups, which are our, I guess the nonprofit groups are not really classed as our community funded groups. So our village funded groups would be like our library, our museum, and our fire hall as well. So do we currently have an agreement with them in place where like we don't charge them a fee and then we pay the cost of the cleaning fee, or how does that work?
With the, for like, the,
Yeah,
no.
we do not currently
So
have.
previous administration, directed us that it was waived, the rental fee was waived.
Okay, and then they just paid their own cleaning fee, or?
We are currently paying the cleaning fee.
That's
Okay.
the reason we're
This
bringing
is
this
why.
forward.
Okay, and is the cleaning fee paid per hour, or is it paid in like a one lump sum that you're charged?
So when, there is after hours, the school district 59 will send us an invoice. And the most recent one, sorry. So for example, when we had election day, it cost $262.18. That is a minimum of 4 hours and then benefits.
Okay, and, sorry, so that's a minimum of 4 hours plus the benefits. Do we have to go with the school district 59's cleaner because they're a
It
union?
is in our joint lease agreement.
Even though, if you ask me, I would say the cost of the rental fee and the cost of the cleaning is actually affecting the rental of our space. We're not really making much return on it by the sounds of things. So even though that's negatively impacting the money that we put into the building to hopefully make a return on, we still have to go with the union employed. And that's in contract?
Yes, that's something we would have to visit when we redo the joint use agreement.
And when's that up? I know.
Sometime in 2023.
August
Yes.
31st, 2023.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Good for you, Ms. Green. Thank you. Hey, Councillor Whittle?
So, question, the reason why everything shuts down at 8 o'clock, is that also part of the agreement with the school district? Because it's pretty limited for some, like, evening groups, if they don't get started till 6:37, right, when people get off work, it's only available for an hour.
So
Like,
that
it's
is,
pretty much useless.
that is for the janitors.
I was gonna say that's the
The
cleanest.
janitors are there, so when they go through the school and then at the very end, they will do, once the facility is empty, then they will go in. They do that as their last duty, and then they'll lock up.
They're still on staff at that time.
So would there be an additional cost to keeping them until 9 o'clock, so we can, you
Have to
know?
look into
You would
it.
have to ask.
Okay, so the one-
I imagine it would be they're paid by, they don't work for the.
Yeah, cause it's like, really, at the end of the day, you get off work, you've got an hour to use it, it's, you know, there's a reason why it's not being utilized as much as it could be.
Councillor Wall?
I'm under the impression the user fee here is like we could be getting more people to use the space if we didn't have that user fee.
Ms. McCann?
We actually don't have anyone paying the user fee. They've come to council and had that waived.
Okay. So does cleaning need to occur after anyone uses it for anything?
The school. the
Yes,
next
because
day,
the school has to be clean for the students when they come to school.
They have gym in there. To school.
You know, like not every event is a.
It's safety for kids.
Oh, okay.
And so it needs to meet a certain standard of cleaning, because I know like other halls, you'll often clean your own space, but this needs to have a certain.
Because we have children in there on a
Yeah.
daily basis, there's a standard that has to be met.
I was just thinking if it was like a book club or something, I'm like, what needs to be cleaned?
Maybe they threw their coffee on the floor. I don't know, but it's in the agreement and we have to follow it, that's.
Councillor Rattle?
So there's a standard janitorial fee. It comes from the agreement. That is what it is. So it seems that that fee is borne by the village when it's a village-funded organization. That's what it sounds like. So there's nothing we can really do about that, but unless there's a review. But what I'm trying to get at here is how do we? My goal is, my hope, my ambition is that it's accessible for different user groups to utilize our community space so that they can have, you know, things that are not profit generating, that they are able to have a space, a safe, clean, heated, covered space to do knitting club, book club, sports, all this kind of stuff. But an organization is deterred from doing that when they have to fundraise potentially thousands of dollars to pay for the space. So I'm just trying to see where that line is, where there's that minimum cost, and then are we collecting on top of that minimum cost?
Ms. Stokes?
So you can get around that, council can waive the user fee for anybody, provided they're in there from 3:30 to 8. If they're not done by 8, there should be something
Where
in the
they have to
policy
pay
that
the-
states they have to pay afterwards. Otherwise, the village will continue to incur costs. So council is more than within their parameters to say, okay, Mike and his group want to use it for basketball 3 times a week or 3. You can waive the user fee, but they must be out by 8 o'clock or they're going to incur a cleaning fee. And that's what we're trying to establish is, can we put it in the policy, can we rewrite the policy to say these user groups will have to bore the cost of the cleaning. The museum goes in for their harvest tea or they do their whatever on the weekend. Why should we pay the $300 or $260 for it to be cleaned when they're getting the space for nothing?
Yeah.
Right?
Or the museum and the library. So.
Councillor Wong?
Will the space be cleaned by the janitors at 8 o'clock every night, regardless if somebody's in there or not?
Yes, so the school janitor cleans, the janitor does not typically work on weekends, so weekends goes above and
They have to be
beyond.
done by 9 o'clock.
I'm talking like the weeknights though. So weeknights, no matter what, there's gonna be a janitor in there anyways.
Yes.
So why are we paying a cleaning fee for someone who's gonna be there cleaning?
We're not.
We're not, unless it goes after hours.
Yes.
And then they have to
Exactly.
bring, and they have to bring it in
Exactly.
special.
Yeah.
So they've asked that our user groups be done by 8 o'clock to give the janitor that last hour of her shift to make sure that the community center is clean for the next day.
Okay, so we're not charging that fee to people, okay, as long as we're up for
There's nothing being charged right now
You're
to
gonna be up by
anybody.
8.
That's
We
what we're
have nothing
asking.
in place for if they're there past 8.
I was confused, I feel like I am no longer confused.
Ms. McNair, do you have a question?
I just wanted to point out that if it was council's wish as well, that you want to fund the cleaning, that's an option as well. We just need to up the budget. Because right now, we're not currently budgeting for these other activities that are going on that we're incurring the cost.
Councillor Whittle?
So with the current way the facility is being utilized right now, what's it costing the village at the end of the day? Ballpark.
This year, it'll be,
Just for cleaning?
I think we're looking at just over $1,000.
For the year, or if we
That's
looked
just
at,
in cleaning.
that's just cleaning, and then there's still the servicing of the kitchen equipment and the regulatory stuff. I don't know myself, this is just my opinion, I'm leaning towards, we need to look at cost recovery, because it's not fair to the residents of Poo-Scoopy to be putting that entire bill, yeah, it's only $1,000, but $1,000 here, $1,000 there. At the end of the year, that adds up when we're looking at some pretty substantial projects down the road. So myself, I'm in favor of cost recovery at the very least, so that it's not costing us.
We just wanna put it in next after 8 if they're there.
After 8 PM, yeah, after 8 PM, cost recovery, or on the weekends, cost recovery, right?
Councillor Johnson, remember to raise your hand. I'm just like, Ms. Phillips.
Okay, so what we're looking for is a motion to amend the policy. Our staff will go back, amend what we believe we've heard, what we think. It'll come back in a draft. Council will review it. If you don't like it, we'll make changes, but we need somewhere to start, is what we're asking for.
I just like that, so I think that 5-hour time Monday to Friday where there's no fee as long as they're out before 8:30, I agree with that. I think that makes sense. I think my biggest concern is that weekend fee, especially if like the museum or the library or the fire hall were to rent it on a Saturday. I know that our Poo-Scoopy Public Library has been doing a lot of things on Saturdays. They've had macrame things going on and stuff. I think that's where my concern is, and I think Councillor Whittle makes a fair point. We almost need to be putting those funds back on them because they do have the option to host it on a Friday and get it done before 8:30 and still meet a no fee. Yes, Ms. Green.
So I just wanna add one thing. I just wanna say that like for the weekday, so far, like since I've been here, I have never seen a cost occur for weekdays after a certain time. If there is an event, as long as it's not like a reoccurring thing, we have asked the school before, hey, is it okay if they go a little bit later? We would always get approval from the school first.
So our biggest issue currently right now then definitely seems to be the weekends, if I'm understanding. So during the weekend, we are definitely incurring a cost. So that is where it is up to you as council to decide which motion you would like to put forward. I think the Monday to Friday weekday makes sense, but you all need to decide which is best for the weekend. Councillor Rattle.
I would just also like to speak to the need in the village is for user groups and volunteers and organizations to have a space where they can go to and express their craft or socialize with other people. It's a community center. It is the Poo-Scoopy Community Center. So that I don't want people being deterred from using it because their organization is unable to fundraise. Volleyball, tea talk, like tea nights, this kind of stuff.
If
right?
any of you are feeling that the user fee for the Saturday is too much, you are more than welcome to make the motion to waive it where they only pay the cost of cleaning, which would be around $260. That would then drop the weekend price down from $900 to only the cost of the cleaning. If that is what you feel would be more beneficial. As of now, we cannot bring the contract back. It's not due until August of 2023.
Yeah.
So, if I may make a recommendation to my council, it would be that if you're looking to, right now, make that a bit more cost effective than waiving that initial rental fee and only charging the cost of cleaning during the weekend, may be one way of doing that. Councillor Wall,
Can I just put the motion on the floor?
if you would like to.
I would like to put a motion on the floor to keep the community center free until 8 p.m. on weekdays.
It is.
Well, the cost is sort of, what's the fancy
We're
word?
looking for a motion to direct staff to draft a policy. That's what we're looking for right now.
I'd like to propose a motion to direct staff to draft a policy on possible community center fees on weekends.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Johnston, all those in favor? None opposed, carried.
I would just like to add, if there is specific things you would like to see in the policy, would you please email it to me? And I will forward it to Skylar, and we will work to get all your concerns in the policy. It works better that way if it's in an email, because then we have everything written down. So put down in an email what you would like to see in the policy. So you don't want to see fees after, if you want to waive rental fees for somebody, put that down. We can look at that. But that's in our rental agreement, that's not in the policy.
I think it's gotten a little bit more convoluted than it needed to be.
I know.
Alrighty,
I still have a question, but I know the thing is now they've dealt with it, so.
alrighty, so, item, so 8.2, recommendations.
Recommend that council receive the letter and invoice from the Peace River Regional District for dwelling inspection services for discussion. And if council agrees with the agreement, they direct administration to renew the contract for another 4 years.
Okay, Councillor Woodall, oh yeah, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Woodall, discussion? Councillor Woodall.
Yeah, do we know on average how many home inspections or building inspections we do yearly in Coos Coopy?
Short answer, no.
No,
Well, you know, not often.
home inspections, maybe.
I don't know about inspections now.
The other part of that, sorry, is do we have, is there a legal reason, how to phrase this? Basically, is there a legal reason that we have to contract the services of a building inspector? Is it a
Well, if
liability
somebody
to
builds new houses or things like that, we don't have a building inspector.
well, within the village of Coos Coopy, if we don't have one, does that not default back to the regional district? Or if we don't
That's
have
what
one?
this is.
Yeah, but
So this is the bill that we pay to contract.
can we pay them as a?
No.
It's
No, it's a group thing, it's
It'd
shared.
be way more expensive as well.
Yeah, it's a shared cost between all these municipalities.
No, okay.
Councillor Ramble.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a lead up to my question. Hypothetically, purely hypothetically, if we were not to renew this, what even would be the alternative? The regional districts, bearing this cost, we would either have to hire somebody internally or contract it out to some other firm.
Ms. Stokes?
So part of the reason for putting this report on the agenda is so that council can see the contracts that we deal with. The cost went up this year substantially. We want to show you that. We don't really have a mechanism in place to replace our building inspector because we don't have one. This is the most cost-effective way that I've been told to use a building inspector because he's a roving building inspector, right? He goes all over. So we don't really, we're in the north, we don't have much of a choice, we don't have a lot. You wanna go get your building inspector license?
I actually can.
Oh, you can't for Coos because you're a counselor, but.
Councillor Wall?
So the other alternative to this, the way I see it, is there are municipalities out there that use their bylaw officer as a building inspector, which is part of their job description.
Ours isn't qualified.
No,
You have to have certain qualifications.
Oh, yeah, you have to have certain qualifications. It has to be ASTTBC approved. It's not impossible. Has council discussed that, or is that even?
Nope. At this point in time, that is not a conversation that we have. We do currently have a contract with our current bylaw, and he does not really meet the requirements of building inspector, so.
Okay. But in the future, we could.
It's something we can bring up with him for future discussion.
Okay.
Councillor Rebel?
So this cost is borne by the village, right? Fair by us, right? So we previously had a discussion through the lens of cost recovery. So it's a requirement, obviously, and then we have the building inspector go in and make sure that it's up to snuff. What recovery does the village have from the person constructing this new structure, updating a structure? What kind of percentage is that? It's clearly coming on the village. What about the person who's actually initiated this new construction or updated construction?
Building permits, I don't have the exact number on me right now.
Every permit has a different fee,
Based on
but we
the cost of
collect
the bill.
that before the building inspection's done.
Counselor Whittle?
So those permits, within the village of Goose Cooping, are those issued by the village or are those issued by the regional district?
Village.
Village, okay, and then they're just very.
Signed off by the building inspector.
Okay. So then, I guess, if we get a big boom in construction that, 10,000 a year will get, we'll cover that, but if like this last year where it's been pretty slow, we've had like 1 or 2 houses that have went up kind of thing, then we're kind of bearing that, we're kind of eating that extra cost because, well, really we don't have much choice.
Okay. Counselor Ravel?
Do other municipalities pass the cost on to people, or is this usually borne by the municipality?
I believe everyone pays building fees, building permit fees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But are we footing the bill for $176,000?
No, ours,
Our portion's not.
Counselor Johnston is raising his hand.
That was just my favor.
It's 10,000.
10,007.
Counselor
No,
Moore?
Could we possibly communicate with Dawson Creek because they have their own building inspectors? Like if we communicate with Dawson Creek, we could do a price comparison, see if we could have a contract with them versus the regional district.
We have, you wanna speak to that? No? Okay.
Can you answer that?
Devin was Dawson, I know that.
But they have another one.
It's something to do with the level 1, 2, and 3.
It'd be cheaper to go through Dawson than it would be to.
Could we look into that though? If we could look into a price comparison to contracting through Dawson Creek versus the regional district?
Are you putting that motion on the floor, Mr. Wall, to direct staff?
Oh, sure. Hi, I put a motion on the floor to direct staff to contact the city of Dawson Creek regarding the cost of building inspections. So we can compare costs between the district and Dawson.
Well, they have a full-time dedicated building inspector for Dawson.
Yeah.
So you are looking to have staff to reach out to see if the building inspector in Dawson Creek would be willing to contract out to Scoopy,
As well.
and what the cost would be within that.
Yeah.
And you're looking to table this item until it comes back.
No, you're not tabling it, you're making a motion.
Well,
Oh, I see. So you don't want us to pay this bill then, which is due,
That's for
January
last
3rd.
year, this is for 2022, is it not?
no,
$10,000?
2022, sure.
Yes.
oh.
We still have another council meeting this year.
Well, this is for last year, we don't have a choice, we
Yeah,
have
you
to pay this.
Oh, I'm talking for next year though.
Okay, so we need 2 motions, we need one to pay the bill, and then we can, and I will take yours, and we will reach out to Dawson for next year.
Counselor Ravel?
So, is the cost borne by the Corporation of the Village of Pooscoopee this $10,709 bill for 2022?
Yes.
That is
Yes.
the entirety of this cost of the building inspectors.
Yes.
Because it's shared. There we go. So it's $10,709.
For Poos, yes.
There we go.
Counselor Wall?
I put a motion on the floor to pay this bill.
Okay, hold on, you have a motion on the floor already that we have to pay.
Yes.
One motion at a time, please.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, contact the city of Dawson about building inspector. And who's seconding that?
I'll second it.
Council
All in favor?
All those in favor? All those opposed?
I would like to make a comment that this is clearly an agreement between the other participating municipalities to share the cost of this. Is there an agreement in place that could have legal consequences if this is not renewed, or is there an agreement that could be broken because of us pursuing alternative building inspections?
If we pull out of the,
Ms. Stokes?
if you opt to pull out of this, it means their share goes up.
I
For
think-
2023.
I'm gonna interject. I think there seems to be a little bit of confusion. So the amount of money that is being paid by the village of Poughkeepsie is $10,709. That amount is shared, equivalent to the amount of $136,659. Right? Okay. So our total bill is not going to be the $136,359. If we were to contact Dawson Creek and contract their building inspector, we're probably looking at a larger cost.
I just want a comparison to
it's
see
not
which one
shared.
would be cheaper.
Okay.
And then we can decide to continue with this or.
Okay. So, yes, we're just gonna,
I'll call, we'll call.
okay, perfect. All right, so let's focus on the current motion. The motion on the table is to direct staff to,
We're done with that one.
we're done. You're paying it?
Oh, are you making the second motion?
I make a motion to pay this bill.
There we go. Can I get a second? Second by Raymond Councilor Johnson. All those in favor? Unanimous and carried on. Thank you. Okay. 8.3 recommendation. We all need more coffee. I think.
We got people waiting outside for in camera, so.
Point of order.
Alright, 8.3, the council approves travel registration and accommodations expenses for the CAO to attend the CAO forum to be held in Kelowna, BC from February 14th to 16th of 2023.
Can I get a seconder? Seconder, Councilor Wall. Thank you. Discussion? Councilor Wall.
How many nights is the hotel stay on there?
13, 14, 15, 16, 4 nights.
4 nights.
Yep.
Okay. I was just curious about how much that was, because I thought it was $946 for 2 nights, and I was like,
No, because
Fancy.
we have to allow for travel.
Yeah.
So we just put the conference days, but typically a person that's traveling would leave the day before and then come home the day after.
I'll make a motion that council approves the travel registration accommodation expenses for the CAO for the forum in Kelowna, February 14th to 16th.
I'll second that.
I would like to persist in discussion.
Okay.
So, well, for 4 nights, that's $236 a night.
This is estimated, right? It's not actual.
And it's also Kelowna.
You put it on the high side.
During a
It's an
conference.
estimate.
And I'm assuming you're
And if
saying,
anyone's looked at the next page, it's $169 a night plus
Yeah.
taxes.
In their allocated hotel. It's already a part of it.
Yes.
okay, we're gonna move to a vote. All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, would you like your opposed to be noted?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right. 8.4 recommendation. The council approves the travel and accommodation expenses for mayor and council up to $3,498 per person to attend the BC Natural Resources Forum in Prince George, January 17th to the 19th of 2023. Can I get a seconder?
I'll second it.
Councillor Wall, all right, and moving to discussion. Councillor Whittle?
So yeah, for this one for Prince George, is this something that we wanna just send 1 or 2 members down to? Or is this something that there's multiple council members interested in attending?
Ms. Phelps?
So travel has not been done in the last 2 years for the council, as of the obvious. And I did put both costs here. So there's travel costs. This is an estimate. You can drive if you want, or you can do virtual, or you can not attend. But typically it would only be 1 or 2 council members that would attend this one.
Is this something that has gone to by previous mayor and council?
Way back when. It doesn't have a big effect on this area.
That's what I was wondering.
Just so you know, the procedure is when a conference comes up, it's not up to me to make the decision whether council goes or not. So typically what we do is we put together a travel report for you, estimated costs, what it will cost. As you can see, this one ranges. The registration, it ranges anywhere from $420 to $765, depending on what it is you're picking to go to. Airfare, that's negotiable. So if you chose to drive, you would get, how does that work? They get the mileage or whichever's cheaper. So you would get mileage, but if the airfare was cheaper, you'd get the airfare price, or vice versa, okay? Hotel, as you can see, they have a range of hotels. They don't actually have a hotel assigned to this one. So I
You
just
could
took
get
a
a
guess.
hotel.
Pardon?
You could get a cheaper hotel.
You could if you want. This is just what I found in that area, okay? And then each counselor is entitled to a per diem per day, $125 per day. Or if you don't want to use your per diem, you can keep your receipts and submit them.
Is there any interest by anybody here wanting to go? I know that there's not much pull in this area, so I really would just like to see how much want there is to attend.
I would really like to attend this because there's a lot of people in Puskupi that work in natural resources. There's a lot of change going on right now. It'd be good to have somebody there, in my opinion, and I would be more than happy to go.
Okay? Anybody else? I guess where he goes, you end up going, isn't it?
I would be willing to go. I do see value in Puskupi being represented in the Natural Resources Forum, but yeah.
We can carpool.
But it is quite expensive. That's the thing, right? We
Yes.
do have this virtual option.
You do. You do have an option to attend virtually. I've attended quite a few forums virtually over the past year, and I do find they are quite well laid out as well.
I don't learn quite as well virtually. I would love to attend in person. If you want to come along, we can do one car, one hotel room.
We can discuss that later.
Yeah.
Councilor Whittle?
You know, I'll put the motion on the floor that we send Councillor Rabel and Councillor Wall to the forum in Prince George.
Seconded by Councillor Johnston. All those in favor? Unanimous and passed. Ms. Stokes?
And just so you know, I make all the travel arrangements.
Okay.
Okay?
Ms. Stokes, I will not be attending this in person. I will look to see if I'm able to attend virtually.
Alright?
We can drive down.
We'll discuss.
Yeah, we can talk about that after.
Okay.
Okay. 8.5, recommendation.
Recommend the council approves travel and accommodation expenses for the mayor and council up to $21.55 per person to attend the 7th Indigenous Resources Opportunity Conference from February 27th to 28th, 2023.
Okay, seconder? Councillor Whittle? Okay, discussion? Councillor Rabel?
It's clear that there needs to be some representation from Puskupi. Are we looking for some virtual, some in person, all virtual? I do believe it's necessary to at least have some people present at this.
This is definitely one that I would be interested in attending, not only due to my mayor hat, but also due to my regular old hat. So this is one that I would definitely be interested in attending.
I'll make a motion that we approve accommodation expenses for mayor and council.
Okay,
And
How many council members are you approving?
Yeah.
Well, is there anybody else?
Who wants to go?
Does anybody else want?
yeah, is there anybody else who would like to attend? I would like to.
I'll do virtually. Like, I'd love to get the information.
Okay. Anybody else like to attend virtually?
What's the virtual cost on
$200.
$199.
Okay.
You're virtual and you want to go in person?
Yes.
Well, I just want to not have the people of Puskupi foot this like so much bill. It makes sense for the mayor to go in person, sidebar chats,
This is
representation.
your budget.
Okay, all those in favor of me attending? Unanimous and carried. Thank you. Okay. Correspondence. 9.1, the letter from Sandra Rose Bone and Grindle. I met with Miss Stokes this evening, and we talked a little bit this afternoon. She's going to create a file that will have her visa statements in there monthly that I will be able to go over and check off as per the recommendation of Sandra Rose Bone and Grindle. Just letting council know. Is there any other things that anybody would like to talk on in correspondence?
It's always so broad.
No worries. 9.6, recommendation, so that letter received from Shaw. Are we still having issue getting in contact with Shaw? I know that we had tried to reach out, we're having absolutely no luck. And now we have two lovely ladies to personally address it to.
Okay, what would you like me to address, because we've taken that off the action items?
Well, we took that off the action items.
It's taken off.
Councillor Whittle, you probably respond to
The
that.
reason why you took it off wasn't because nobody was getting back to you?
Yes.
We didn't have a contact. It's gone, so now you need new motion.
Okay. So, let's do that. I'll put a motion on the table that the Village of Poughkeepsie re-engages in connectivity, and which is your cellular, telephone, right, all the communications, and we pursue this a little bit more to improve the connectivity within Poughkeepsie.
So, are you wanting
I'm just wanting to get
Shaw to come as a delegation?
Yes.
Yes, Shaw.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Johnston. All those in favor? Unanimous and carried. Look, we can address it to these two lovely ladies.
I have some stuff for you now.
Yes, sir.
I've been focusing on other people.
Yes, Councillor Woodell. Yes. Okay.
And then 9.7 recommendation, the Girl Guide lights, last year, Councillor Hebert brought that forward and we changed our lights to blue to represent, the Girl Guides, what is it called?
Guiding lights.
Guiding lights, thank you so much. Guiding lights across BC. I would like to put the motion on the floor that we resume that again this year, and once again, change our lights to blue to show support for the guiding lights across BC by the BC Girl Program. Seconded by Councillor Woodall. All those in favor? Unanimous and carried.
But
Thank you.
for specificity, it's to be on February 22nd, 2023, that we change our lights to blue,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
As stated in the letter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on correspondence? We have somebody waiting for in cameras. Talk fast. Okay, perfect. All right, moving on. Number 10, resolutions, none. Number 11, bylaws, none. Number 12, administration report. So 12.1, CAO report. Floor is to you there, Mrs. Stokes.
So in addition to what I have there, I would just like to remind all of council about the Christmas party on December 12th at 5:30 at the Fix, or not the Fix, at Fix X, please, and it will be in the board, in their conference room. I'll remind you about December 14th, the meeting with Urban Systems at 7 o'clock. It is a meeting for you to discuss things with Urban. They'll let you know what they've done in the past, what they're working on now, what is coming up. It is not a meeting for decisions. I just want to let everyone know. This is an information session for you guys so you can really get to know what it is Urban's doing for us in the town and get to meet Edward and his team.
I just have a question for you. So tomorrow our orientation? Oh, okay.
I'm not finished yet. Business cards should be ordered shortly. I was just waiting on Councillor Rabble's phone number. I have that, so I'm in the process of getting, because we're just ordering them all in bulk. So, just so you know, they are coming. And a reminder to everyone to please bring your bright yellow binders tomorrow night at 5:30. And I will try to make it as quick as possible because this is my third night working in a row, so I don't feel it. But if anyone has anything specific they would like to address tomorrow night, please let me know during the day. It's a chance for, it's not a council meeting, it's classified as a CIO workshop. which means it's a very informal, it's a chance for me, there's some things we need to touch on, expectations both on your end, my end, how things run in our office, how we deal with stuff, just to kind of, it's kind of a more personalized version of what we went through at Ovinta, but it's tailored to what goes on in this office. And that is it, that's all I have.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, Ms. Stokes. All right, 12.2 action items. Does anybody see anything on the action item list? Councillor Whittle?
I see item number 7 is now nearing complete.
Yeah.
For seniors, the senior aging and care place, so we have Purity coming in.
Did you read that? Yeah, it's coming January 18th.
Oh, no, that's great. I was just highlighting.
Okay, anything else? Councillor Rabble?
Purely because I looked at highway signs. I don't know if this should be in my report. A person expressed a concern.
Okay.
Your report.
Okay.
Your
Save
report,
it for you.
please.
Okay, there you go. Okay, all right. Moving on to capital and special projects. Anybody sees anything? I think it looks fantastic, Ms. Stokes. Yes, Ms.
I
Stokes.
would like to give a little bit of an update. We will all be happy to know that the safety coating for the filing floor has been started.
Wow.
And should be finished by the end of the week.
Yay! Oh, thank you.
End of this week, beginning of next week, but they are underway. They've been over there sanding and everything. So we are almost, and I'm proud to say that by December 21st, we will have 2 things left on our capital and special projects list, probably. Our emergency response plan will not be finished at the end of the year. We just haven't had time. We're working on it, but it's with everything that's been going on. And if by any luck, I will have the solid waste RFP posted to the new government website that is making it very difficult to use. So, I'm working on it. I really am. I tried before I left, but it was just too, yeah, they weren't very helpful. So, okay.
Alrighty, next moving on to item number 13, reports. 13.1, Councillor Johnston, your report?
I haven't been very busy. I did attend the old-fashioned Christmas briefly. It was very cold and my kids weren't with me. I stayed for as long as I could handle.
Did you go see Santa?
I saw Santa, we waved. That was as close as I got. And I have nothing else to report.
Okay, all right. Councillor Rabble, report?
Okay, so yeah, I also attended the old-fashioned Christmas, and I did see Santa, and it was quite nice. I thank all the community organizations and village-funded organizations for their volunteerism, their hard work, and to put on such a great time. Special shout out to, of course, the village office for the lights, the museum, the fire hall, and the library and the food bank for all working together. It was a really great show of community spirit for the holiday season. I did meet with the director of the library to kind of touch base, as this is my new portfolio. This library is a piece of it. Just kind of opening the lines of communication with the director of the library so that I can act as a liaison for the library to the council. Don't want to look unprofessional, but I've got notes on my phone.
No worries, we all use our phones quite often, so I totally get it.
So, I am very impressed by the services that the library does offer to the village with engagement for a variety of different age and user groups. I am very excited for their wine and books event. Hopefully that will be occurring in fall 2023. I do have an inquiry about the fiscal year, but that's something that we can discuss at a later time. And then learning more about the user agreements between the school district and the library, and that from my new understanding that it's only actually one of 2 municipal libraries that exist within a school setting with a shared user agreement. So it's quite a unique beast in its own. And then there's various other things, but that will come up in the future. And then also I did have a concern from a trucker who drives through Pooskoopi, mentioned to me that although the school zone is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., He did notice that children do start walking to the school across the highway at earlier times. From my understanding, that's Ministry of Transport, maybe with something to do with signs, and I do believe that there are standardized times for school zones, but I just want to put that forward to inquire as to what can be done to ensure that it's not legal to go 50 through that zone, blasting through while children are potentially walking at 7:30, 7:45 in the morning to get to school. So I just wanted to, that was brought to my attention, I just want to bring that to council's attention as well. I know that there's further work that will need to be done on such a thing, because it's a relationship between Ministry of Transport and the village for such highway signage.
Ms. Stokes?
That would be reaching out to the school district
Okay.
and talk to them about getting the times changed.
Sure.
School district would have to the school district would have to reach out to the Ministry of Transportation and work with them to have that changed. Because they could change the signs to 7:30 to, whatever. But I had another comment. Library use agreement, if you want a copy, let me know, I'll send it to you.
Yes, please. Yeah. I think I'm already getting it from another person, but more the merrier.
You should be getting it from us, not from them.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay, anything else to report?
Engaging with citizens, it's a good time. It's been quite busy. I gotta admit, after being sick last council meeting, it's kind of an odd blur the time that's come since, but yeah, no, I would say people struggling with the inflationary crisis. It's deeply unfortunate, but yeah. And then I do want to reach out, of course, to the school and the food bank and the Adult Peace Health Society and pursue my portfolios further.
Speaking of food bank, just so council knows, there was an excess of hot dogs and hot dog buns left over on Friday. So we donated them to the food bank. They were able to take them. We were a little concerned about the hot dogs because the hot dogs were in boxes and we didn't know if they would be able to, but they said yes, they could. And they're going to individually package them and people will benefit from them. And we didn't want the buns to go moldy, so they took them and put them in the freezer.
Oh, wonderful. That's awesome.
I'm just to finish off, I must admit, I wish I would have had the chance to speak to them, but that will come hopefully prior to the next council meeting.
And if you need any help getting in contact, that was my portfolio before as well, so I can definitely help you reach out to them as well. So.
Thank you. Okay.
Councillor Wong?
I'll keep mine short. Attended the Old Fashioned Christmas. Had a blast. It was awesome. Good work, staff and volunteers. It was a well thought out event. I am curious if we have a policy regarding staff working the Old Fashioned Christmas.
Nope.
Similar to we do on.
Nope.
We don't. Nope. Okay. I may bring that forward next council meeting then, so that we have a policy in place.
What kind of policy? If you don't have staff, you don't have functions.
Well, policy in place to have staff work the Old Fashioned Christmas.
We'll have to talk about that.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
So I spoke with the museum, a lot of good information, and well, I'll leave it there.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Councillor Woodall?
Yeah, since it's our last council meeting, I attended a PRD meeting, had some good conversations there. And I've got another PRD meeting Friday. And we'll have some reports for you guys as soon as I get it to work on my computer.
Okay. Sounds good. Alrighty, well, I've been kind of here, there, and everywhere. I attended the Inspire Virtual Educators Conference through my work, but it did run into the evening, so it sort of took up quite a bit of my time. So that was a 3-day conference from the 24th to the 26th that I did attend virtually. Then on the 28th, on the Monday, I met with Kathleen Connolly from the Chamber of Commerce in Dawson Creek and talked to her about economic development and different grants that our little village could have access to. And so we'll be looking to have her come in the future to have a delegation with council and sort of talk a little bit about our economic development. I was out of town for at least 6 days, much longer than I had planned on being. So since I've gotten back, I've been slowly filling up my my calendar since then. I sadly missed the old-fashioned Christmas because I was not here, but I've heard wonderful things. I know the photos that were taken by Pauline were phenomenal. She did a beautiful job. And it seemed, oh, they were not taken by her.
No names.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was a fun event all around. So I know that everybody worked hard and worked collaboratively to make it work, and I'm just thankful to everybody who stepped up to be a part of such a fantastic free evening for members of our village. So I thought that was absolutely fantastic. All right, so that is, I also want to touch on these portfolio forms are in your baskets. Why are you no, every time I look at you, you're saying no to me.
I got it.
Tomorrow?
Why are they in their baskets?
Because I asked Pauline for them. They're in your baskets. We'll talk about them tomorrow. Ignore Miss swearing at me. That doesn't happen.
Check the basket.
Do not check your baskets.
They're in their binders.
Well, I know, but I had more copies made for them because I'm a go-getter.
We'll discuss that.
I know, I'm being murdered, as we say. As well as keep these here, because we'll probably put these in your binder as well tomorrow, because I figured that would be handy. Your portfolio.
I'm gonna contradict the mayor every time.
I know, she's being very mean to me this evening. I would also like to add stuff, so Argo was in this evening, they left us their business card. We talked to them about the best way for the community to reach out to them if they're having issues with the road, as it's not up to us and we don't really have much control over that. They did leave us a 1-800 number. I was wondering if we could post this emergency contact number for Argo on our website. I did speak with 1-800-663-7623. If we could post this on our website as well as our village Facebook, just so people are aware of the number, that would be fantastic. I did ask Norm, who's the operations manager, and he felt comfortable with that.
Okay.
Thank you so much. That's me. I'm gonna get beat up later. You all witnessed what she just said.
I didn't say a word. I said we will talk later.
Yes. All right. So we are on item 14. So we're gonna move to in camera.
Point of order.
Yes.
Can we put question period, I recommend that we put question period prior to the in-camera session.
That is changing the council procedure bylaw.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yes.
It happened after.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before the recommendation.
Actually, no.
Oh, she's a thinking.
Let me research that.
Because that wouldn't make much sense, frankly, to send the public out just to have them return ask questions.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So, somebody make the motion to move into in camera?
So I'll make the motion that we move to in-camera as per section 90-1K of the community charter recommendation. That council moves to in-camera as per section 91K of the community recommendation. K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provisions of the municipal service and are at their preliminary stages. And that in the view of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were to be held in public.
Okay,
Seconder? Councilor Johnston? Do I gotta do all those in favor for in camera? All those in favor? Unanimous and carried.
We didn't have